Okay, guys. So everyone, and I'll hand it over to Chimdi to start off the day. We are having some great folks. I would say some of the goats over here in the Tableau community. We all have learned from, and they're going to take the stage today. So I'll hand over to my brother, and he'll start.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Prasan. Hey, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And looking forward to a great talk today. So we're having this every month. This is our the last day of the month, so kind of getting through that. And you can join us every month at 9 a.m. PST. So first things, a little bit of housekeeping items. What makes this tug different from the rest? So in this tug, we're here every month. We talk about everything related to Tableau and analytics. It's virtual, and so you get to see different people from all around the globe. And we want to come together, talk about all the features, all the functionalities, and have a lot of great guests going. And occasionally, when they're like new products, new features and capabilities of Tableau, we usually have some of the team come over here to do some introductions and kind of give us a sneak peek. And so to keep in touch and make sure you get everything, all the notifications, be sure to join our group on Bevy. And you can also scan the QR code to get all the information you need to stay connected with the group. Awesome. So we've got three hosts today, Annabelle, Prasan, and myself. Annabelle right now is enjoying life. Prasan, Senior BI Engineer at Emirates MBD. And I myself, I'm a database designer and developer with Bizside Analytics, my side business. And a little bit more about Annabelle. So Annabelle is a Tableau visionary and an ambassador. And she used to work previously as a Tableau enablement and analytics lead. She's currently available for hire. And so if you're looking for a seasoned professional with lots of great knowledge and skills and everything there, definitely pick her up. She'll be a great addition to your team. And a bit about her journey. So Annabelle discovered Tableau like 10 years ago, and she fell in love immediately. She currently has 6 visitor days, so lots of nice recognition there. And she is also, as you know, a co-leader of this host. And in addition to this, she does enablement and a Data Plus Women webinar. So be sure to check that out. Fun fact about Annabelle, she loves baking for other people, lots of French pastries. And so maybe if you're nice, she might be sending you some pastries in the mail sometime. So you can scan the QR code there to check out her YouTube channel. Make sure to keep in touch with everything she's got going on. Awesome. Next, we've got Prasan, who is also a Tableau visionary and ambassador. A little bit about his Tableau. He fell in love with Tableau and he's been giving back ever since. He founded the Tableau Buddy and Dehner, which are basically forums you can connect with to learn about just kind of getting into Tableau, the software. If you're looking to sort of launch yourself professionally, he's been doing a great job of kind of getting a lot of those tips and resources and everything you need there. He started using Tableau in 2020. He and I basically shared the same anniversary, kind of COVID days. And he currently works as a senior BI engineer at Emirates MBD. He's got a strong sense of community building and mentoring. And till date, he's mentored over 500 plus data professionals. Literally, that number I can say it grows every second. I mean, it's just really amazing what he's been doing. He's got over 18,000 followers on LinkedIn. So he's a global superstar, right? That kind of lets you know kind of all the, cool stuff he's been doing. He loves data art. So you can check out his profile. You're going to see a bunch of cool looking fizzes, which have, of course, earned him 4 visitor recognitions. Fun fact about Prasan, he loves cats, food, anime, and apparently these are 3 things that he's willing to die for. Pretty cool. Awesome. About me, just a regular guy, Tableau visionary, Tableau ambassador. I do a bunch of freelance and contract data viz work for clients in different industries with my business. I've been in love with Tableau since 2020. I love to viz. I really love to viz. I love to express myself creatively. It's been kind of cool getting some recognition in the community. I have 14 visitor days. I think that's about 16 now. I also co-lead Makeover Monday, so be sure to check that out. That's basically a place where you can go in to practice your visualization skills every Monday. We bring articles and visits for us to reimagine and recreate. And I myself like to participate in the challenge as well. So you can check out some of the stuff that I do. I believe in functional aesthetics, which means that a lot of the things you're going to see from me are going to be focused on like looking nice and looking good, but in a functional way that's not just about decoration, but also about enhancing communication and insights. Fun facts about me, Viz Junkie. So I guess what that means is even if I'm not posting on Tableau Public, I'm still doing Viz on the side. I love watching documentaries. It's just really fascinating to me. And occasionally you can find me trying to make melodies on a keyboard, pretending to be a musician. And I also enjoy working out and fitness related things as well. Awesome. So a few ground rules for today. Please interact with the audience using the chat section, post whatever you need to, have fun, go crazy. But when it comes to like Q&A for the speakers specifically, please try to use the Q&A section. That way your questions aren't getting like mixed up and carried over in the chat. And the only rule we have here, no restrictions, but you must enjoy yourself. The session is being recorded. And when it's done, you'll find it on YouTube. We're going to send out all the links and everything. And so be sure to look out for that. And you can check out our socials at Analytics Tugs. Go over, show some love, and of course, stay connected with the community in this group. So today's agenda, we've kind of already done the introduction here. And so next, we're going to start moving on to the speakers. And first, we're going to have Diego Martinez and Jim Dehner, sorry. They're going to give us, a little bit about interactivity and doing popping cool stuff in Tableau. And then we're going to move on to Sarah and Fee, where they're going to give us a little bit of tips, with how to glow up our vizzes and transform them from lukewarm to lit. And then finally, we're going to get some back end stuff from Kirk. He's going to give us a deep dive on Tableau Semantics.
Okay.
So I'm going to pass it back to Prasan, and he can begin to bring in the speakers to get the goodies out to us.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Emily, for section and getting the whole audience ready for the event as well. So first, we have Jim Dehner and Diego. They have actually presented this session at Tableau conference. It was quite amazing. And today we are getting that front seat, actually. So, okay. So this is an independent consultant and owner at Market Analytics LLC. However, he's also a 5-time Tableau visionary, 8 times Tableau Forums ambassador, has the maximum points on Tableau Forums, if I'm right. And he's also the founder of Tableau Newbie User Group and co-leads both that group and Nashville Tableau User Group. I think if you haven't checked out Tableau Newbie User Group, you should. It's actually a great user group for launching, or if you want to get on that journey to learn Tableau and you're new to it. So that's a perfect place for it. And he is a familiar face. I don't think it needs to be mentioned. He is, and he has answered thousands of questions on the forums and is a frequent speaker at Tableau conferences. His blog, jimdehner.com, please check that out. We'll push that link in the chat as well. And it has great resources. One of my favorites is Zero to Zen, which I've been passing over always. That's one of my favorite playlists out there. But that's not all. He has also created so many like tremendous content, and he has been doing it constantly right now as well. So, and currently he is based in Nashville, and he's collaborating with Tableau to develop an educational initiative aimed at introducing data visualization to K to 12 students. And that's quite amazing because to let people know about this tool at an early stage, I think that's phenomenal. And he's going to share this presentation today with Diego, and that is swapping, popping, and more with DZV. I don't know how many of you say DZV because this is the term we use at office. So, are you using DZV? So, it's one of the favorite features that we use these days. So, I'm quite next. Along with Jim, we have Diego, and Diego is the CTO for Modex. CTO. Wow. And he is a Tableau partner and is based in Bogota, Colombia. He's a highly motivated industrialist in G+ years experience, and also brings in experience in marketing and supply chain. He's a 4 times Tableau visionary, a Tableau Forums ambassador, and he helps and spends so much of his time to find and answer questions in the community, and also to turn raw data into actionable decisions. Currently teaming up with companies to turn their data by using Tableau platform and the blueprint and creating learning videos. So I'll stop over here and I'll hand over the stage to Jim and Dehner. Jim and Diego, thank you so much, guys, and welcome to Analytics TUG. I'll stop sharing. Yep.
Okay, give me just a second here and we will get started. Good morning, everybody. Okay. This is the presentation that Diego and I did at Tableau Conference. We're going to do it a little bit different today because Diego's in Colombia and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. And rather than flipping back and forth between screens, I'm going to present the first part of the presentation. Diego's going to present the second part of the presentation. But before we get down deep into it, just a little bit about ourselves. Diego, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Jim. My name is Diego Martinez. As Prasant has told you, I am a Tableau visionary and also a Tableau ambassador. I love to answer questions in the community. I love to have as many points as Jim, but he is so far away, like 100,000 points far away from me, and like 1,000 questions far away from me in the community. But I think that 5,000 questions that I have answered is a good quantity of questions. I live in Colombia, South America. My first language is Spanish, but I also love to teach people in English, in Spanish, and also I'm beginning to learn a little bit Portuguese, and it's so wonderful. Here we are to try to do our best, our best. So, Jim, you also, it's a pleasure to share the stage with you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Diego. My name is Jim Dehner. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I live just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yes, I'm a visionary, and Diego and I really, when it comes to answering questions on the forum, one or the other of us have probably answered any question that you've got out there. I've been using Tableau for about 10 years, and I'm now a 5-time visionary and an 8-time ambassador. We'd like to start off by thanking you for being here. Thank you for being part of the community, and that's a big deal. It's important to be active in the community. We thank you for coming to the analytics group. We'd also love it if you came to the newbie user group or a local user group in your area. But thank you for being part of the community. It means a lot to us, and we do what we do because of you. Diego, why don't you take them through a quick agenda on what we're going to do today?
Well, we have already talked about that. Then we are going to talk about the basics of dynamic zone visibility. then we have like 9 or 10 examples that we are going to show you. And finally, if we have enough time, we are going to answer some Q&As. So let's go ahead.
Okay. Very good. We're going to talk about dynamic zone visibility and what it does. And very simply, it just allows you to show stuff on your dashboard or make it disappear. And we talk about stuff. We're talking about containers, worksheets, legends, filters, parameters, anything that's on your dashboard. You can show or you can make it hide, kind of like a sheet swap. If you remember way back in the day, one of the ambassadors then, Joe Opelt, did a lot of work with sheet swapping and popping views in and out of dashboards. Well, that's the basis for what we're doing, except it's the elevated version of that. Dynamic zone visibility makes it much, much easier to do. There's only 3 things you have to remember. First, you have to set up what I call a Boolean trigger. And I'm going to let you know a secret. Diego has a hard time pronouncing Boolean trigger, so he'll probably just say trigger. It sounds like a big deal. All it is a true-false statement. When it's true, you can see what's being controlled by the dynamic zone visibility. When it's false, you can't see it. We place it on the worksheet and then we apply it to dynamic zone visibility on the layout tab. Now, rather than talking about it, I want to show you how it works. We can go into some detail on this. I came up with this dashboard, and Diego said to me, he said, Jim, you really got to do better than this. He says, this is crowded. It's not very informative. We can make this dashboard do some things. We can use a parameter up here to select city, and when we do that, we can see the top 3 cities. Or we can use this parameter to select subcategory, and we can now see the top 3 subcategories overall. And we can do that with dynamic zone visibility. Let's take a look at how we actually set this up and create the triggers that we were talking about. And I'm just going to start here. The first thing you noticed is that I created a parameter. And the parameter here is nothing more than a string parameter. It's just got 3 text values in their state, city, or subcategory. And we use these to create these triggers. The trigger for city, for example, looks like this. And all it is when the parameter value equals city, it's going to return a true. And if not, it's going to return a false. And then the one we use for state looks like that. And the one we use for subcategory looks like, as you guessed, when the parameter equals subcategory, return a true. And those are our Boolean triggers that we had to have. Now we're going to take those and we're going to apply them on our dashboard for the individual items. And here is our worksheet that I created. I've got a separate worksheet for cities, and I've got a separate worksheet for subcategories. And then on the layout tab over here, up here in this corner, is where you control the dynamic zone visibility. You can see here, this is the city worksheet. We can either show the title or not show the title. We can make it floating or not floating. It's not floating now. But this is where you control the visibility. And I'm applying dynamic zone visibility here. And the trigger that we use for this sheet is the city trigger. When that parameter equals city, it returns a true when you'll be able to see the city. Likewise, when we take a look at the subcategory sheet, all we do is set the subcategory trigger here to true. So when we select subcategory, we see the subcategories. When we select city, we see the cities. I've included here a map of the US that I like to do for navigation purposes, and also just to show you that we can take this and I can use this combined with a parameter action, just an action here on this sheet, a filter action, I should say, to filter by the state. And sure enough, we can still filter, and we can do all the other functions that you would do in Tableau, and they're not affected by dynamic zone visibility. All of that happens before you decide what you're going to see and what you're not going to see. Okay, Let's go to the next level and take a look at how we might use dynamic zone visibility to look at something that might include a lot of worksheets and also include legends. Now, I've got 6 different worksheets here. Okay, 2 of them are bar graphs, 2 are line graphs, and 3 of them are text, or 2 of them are text tables. They all display the same information. The bar graphs, we're going to take a look at sales by category, or we're going to take a look at count of customers by segment. And when I look at the bar graphs and the line charts, I want to see these legends up here. I want to see the category legend and I want to see the segment legend. But when I look at the text chart, I don't want to see that. It's just confusing information. It's not anything that I'd like to see. Well, let's see how we go about using dynamic zone visibility to set that up. And it's going to be very similar to what we did before. We're going to go out to one of those charts and we can take a look. I've got a parameter. And all this parameter does is it says, how do you want to see the data? I want to see it as a line, I want to see it as a bar, or I want to see it as text. And then for the individual charts, we use the same type of true-false statement for our Boolean trigger. It's just when that parameter equals bar, we're going to see the bars, or we're going to see the lines, or we're going to see the text. But now for those legends, I want to see those legends whenever I'm looking at a bar or when I'm looking at a line, but I don't want to see them when we're looking at the text chart. So I've got another calculation here, and all this is it says, hey, look, if you select, whatever that parameter value is, if it's in bar or line, return a true, otherwise return a false. Now, if we come over and we take a look at the finished chart and see what it looks like, I've applied those to this before chart that you see. All I've done is take all 6 of those worksheets and put them in the same container, and I put these 2 legends in another container. And on this finished chart, now when we look at bars, we can take a look at our bar charts. I got 2 bar charts, and no great surprise here. We've set our Boolean trigger to that true false that I created for bar. I've done the same for this chart. And for these 2 legends, I've got the segment legend. And anytime that parameter is bar or line, it's going to return a true, and that legend is going to show. And the same thing's true here with this legend. So as a bar chart that shows a bar chart, we can show them as a line chart, and we still keep the legends. And when we have a text chart, the legends disappear. Now, back in the day, that was very difficult to do. We can control what you see, the individual item on a worksheet, very easily with dynamic zone visibility. The other thing I've included here, just like I did before, I've included a parameter action so that we can filter each one of these charts by state. And sure enough, when we see the text chart, we see the totals for Texas, but we don't see those legends again. Okay, so we can control the individual elements separate from the worksheets or separate from the containers. Now, we're going to move over. I wanted to show you how we can use dynamic zone visibility on floating items or items that are elsewhere in your elsewhere on your dashboard. And I've created this chart here, and I want to go through this in a little bit of detail. The chart is actually uses spatial parameters. I've got in this left-hand chart, these are the subway lines in the city of New York. And in the right-hand chart, I have Starbucks locations. I like my Starbucks in the morning, and if I'm in New York and I want to go to a Starbucks, I'd like to know where that Starbucks location is. I've also got some instructions here. When a user comes and they're going to use this dashboard for the first time, you have to tell them how to use it. And this just says, hey, pick a subway line and then pick a point on the chart, and I'm going to review the list of Starbucks locations from a pop-up that's going to show up right in this area here. And then I can use this walk distance parameter to see how far I'm willing to walk. Now, I've got a lot of things going on, and I want to go over and show you on this chart here how we created those parameters and what the various parameters do, and then we'll see how it all hooks together. I've got a parameter that's called show instructions, and this is just a straight Boolean parameter. If you're not familiar with this parameter type, it's just Boolean, and Booleans return value that are true or false. Okay, I didn't want it to say true or false, so I've named the thing show instructions, and when it's true, I want to see the alias show, and when it's false, I want to hide. And that's just another alias. So I've got those two parameters, or those two values there. I've also got this walk distance. You know, on a nice sunny day, I might want to walk a half mile or a mile. I don't mind that at all. But on a rainy day, maybe I only want to walk a shorter distance. And all this is a floating point number. So this I'm going to use to determine the radius of that I'm willing to walk once I select a Starbucks location. Now I got a couple of other parameters here that you may not be familiar with. These are spatial parameters, and that's a parameter type, and we're not going to go into this in detail today. That would be a separate discussion all by itself. And when I use this parameter, I use to select one of those subway lines, and when I do that, it loads the parameter with all the longitudes and latitudes associated with that shape. I have another spatial parameter, and I use this to collect a single Starbucks location. And when I click on this, it will contain the longitude and the latitude of that one point. Now we use those to calculate the radius that I'm willing to walk in all the Starbucks locations within that location. The first thing we have to do, and this is just a little mechanics thing, we have to change the value of the long and the lat that are in the parameter into a spatial point, and we do that. And then I use it in a buffer calculation. This is a spatial formula. And all this says is, hey, if that, starting at that location that I selected on the map, that Starbucks, that single location on the map, draw a circle at that radius, 0.25 miles, and we're going to use that to count, to first of all find all of the points, all of the Starbucks locations in that buffer zone, the things that intersect that buffer zone, and the Starbucks locations that intersect that buffer zone. And now here comes the Boolean trigger. We did all that just to get to this point. And all we're going to do is we're going to count those stores. We're going to count the number of stores that are in that radius around that point that I picked, and we're going to compare it to 0. Okay, and that's going to return a true or a false. And you'll notice that I've enclosed that in double brackets. We use that double brackets to fix this item so that that this trigger is fixed at the worksheet level. So now we can go back here. We can say, well, okay, what have we got? We've got these instructions, and we're showing those instructions. Well, how did we create these instructions? This is nothing more than a text container. I just dragged a text container out onto the field. You can load it with any text that you want, just like you would in a tooltip. I colored it yellow and put a border around it. But up here, it is a floating point container that I'm going to use dynamic zone visibility on, and the parameter that controls that is a Boolean parameter, the show instruction parameter, and it returns a true or a false. And that's right here. Let's make that instruction sheet disappear. We know how to use the instructions. We don't need to see them anymore. So I can come over here and I can pick a subway line. He said confidently. Okay, and from there, I can pick a Starbucks location on that line. And up here in the corner, we now see all the Starbucks locations within a quarter mile of the one that I picked. And this is nothing more than a list of all the Starbucks locations. I'm going to pull this off here. These are all the Starbucks locations in the city of New York. And all I've done is come back in with a true-false intersect that set to true and says, just show me the ones that are inside that zone. And that's all we've done. Okay, so we can use dynamic zone visibility to with floating point containers as well as containers that are fixed. Now I've got one more to show you, and then Diego's going to take over and do the rest of the presentation. You've probably noticed that Diego is a native Spanish speaker and I'm a native English speaker. And you might have the situation in your business also, or you might have divisions that have that you want to keep data available for some people to see in the division and not for other people to see in the division. But I know that a lot of times we'll get questions about, hey, I'd like to be able to see my dashboard in English, and I'd also like to be able to change it so that I could see it in Spanish very easily. So what I've done is I've created a dashboard, and you can see right now this looks terrible because I've got scatter plots that are in English and Spanish, and I've got trend lines in English and Spanish, and I got bar graphs in English and Spanish, and I got this thing up here that I like to call a value picker that I use to decide whether I want to see English in position 1 in the value picker line. I pick the US flag, or if I want to see it in Spanish, I can take the Colombia flag in position 2 or the Spanish flag in position 3. These charts bring with them their own legends, and right now the chart's a mess. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to be able to get to this chart, this end result, where we could take a look at the dashboard in Spanish, or we could take a look at the dashboard in English. Well, let's take a quick look at how that's done. And it's actually done by using 2 separate data sets. One data set is in Spanish, one data set is in English. We bring them in to Tableau. We use the Spanish data set to create the Spanish charts and the English data sets to create the English data charts. We do not connect the data sets together, but we use those charts on the same dashboard. Now, you could do the same thing with different divisions, and if you wanted one division to be able to see one set of charts and another division a different set of charts, you do it the same way. And then all I've done here is I've got a parameter again, and this parameter is nothing more than the locations on that value picker. Location 1, if you remember, was the US flag, and then we've got the Colombia flag in position 2 and the Spanish flag in position 3. And then all we do for our Boolean trigger is I check to see if that parameter is 1, then it's an English chart. If it's anything other than 1, it's a Spanish chart. And if we go to our end result, we can take a look at the individual charts. You can see we've set this to English, and I've done the same on all the English charts. You can see here, you can see here, you can see here. Okay. And then when we go to the Spanish charts, I've done the same thing here, and we're just doing the Spanish locations. Now, the value picker itself, and I like to use these. I don't like to use a drop down where I have to go through and select from a drop down. Select from a drop down a value. All this is a shape diagram, and I've gone out to the internet and grabbed some flag images that I use and assign them to different shapes. Okay, Diego, they're all yours. I am done for today, and I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, good job, Jim.
I know you're gonna love Diego here. Are you ready to go, bud?
Yes, give me a second. Try
Okay,
to
very
share
good.
my screen.
Very good.
So, are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Well, wonderful. Okay. One of the main use cases the dynamic zoom visibility may have is the functionality to zoom in or zoom out. Um, and how can we do this? It's very simple. We can create a parameter. In this case, for example, I have created a list parameter with 5 values, one per each of the views: sales, profit, discount, and quantity, and also an all value. Okay. And we have created some Boolean triggers. For example, in this case, we are creating the Boolean trigger for sales and profit, but we also have created for quantity and discount. In this case, we are evaluating if the parameter is in between these two values, the sales and all value. And in the same case for profit and all, if it is the quantity, probably is quantity and all. And if it is discount, it would be discount and all. Okay. And like Jim told us, what we have done is that we have assigned the dynamic zone visibility. In this case, for I have some containers, and I have assigned the value for each one of those. Okay. What is important here is that this is a common error. In this case, I have a container, a child container, and I have a parent container that contains these two containers. Yeah. In this case, I only have applied the dynamic zone visibility to each of the child containers. Yeah. So what happens here? Yeah. It seems that the zooming is working, but you will see that the parent container of the second section, yes, is still visible because we have not applied the dynamic zone visibility to that container. Yeah. So we have to also create Boolean triggers, yeah, for the parent containers. In this case, I have created these Boolean triggers, for example, for the sales and profit container, that it uses the previously calculated fields that I have created for sales or profit, and it is only evaluating if sales or profit. And also for the right container, the right parent container, it is the view discount or view quantity calculated fields. That way, we will avoid, yeah, the problem that may arise. In this case, I have also added some text box, and currently I have not applied the dynamic zone visibility. So you will see that when I added some text box here, you will see that the parent container is not being compressed. So the effect is more, is more, I don't know how to say that, but you're watching that. Yeah. So that is why we need to also take into account, yeah, to apply the dynamic zone visibility also for the parent containers. For example, in this case, I'm going to apply to the sales or profit container. And also what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to apply also to the quantity or discount container. And if we did it right, we are going to see that it is behaving correctly. So don't forget that we have to add also the dynamic zone visibility to parent containers if we are using nested containers. Okay? Well, the next use case is a case that arises in the community. It is a community question. As you may know, we can create show and hide buttons. Yeah. So this type of buttons are pretty useful because you can show or hide almost any element of a dashboard. Yeah. But when you are using them with nested containers, you may have a problem. In this case, I have a parent container that is the orange one. Yes. And inside that, I have also a child container that is the blue one. So what happened here? I will try to hide the blue one, yeah? And if I hide the parent container and then show the parent container, you will see that the child containers did not remain hidden, yeah? And that is what I call the container trap. So what's the solution? The solution in this case is to use dynamic zone visibility. Okay, so in this case, what I did was to create two parameters, one to show the parent container, two Boolean parameters, and one for the child container. Okay, so we have we have configured the dynamic zone visibility using okay. But what we have done here is that we are not using the buttons. Instead, we created some sheets that will act as buttons. Yeah. So how I did this? In this case, I use a placeholder, yes, to create a bar. So this thing here is a bar. Probably if I if I reduce the size, you will take a look that it is a bar. And I have also hidden the axis. Yes, but it's fixed from 0 to 1. And what is interesting here is that we are using parameter actions. In this case, what we want to know is if the parameter is true, we want to change it to false. So we have created also some calculated fields. In this case, I'm going to show you the calculated field. Basically is the contrary of the current value of the parameter. So if the parameter is true, this will return false. If it is false, it will return true. And that way we are going to execute the parameter action that we're going to use on click. And we have done the same for the other parameter. Okay. So this is really interesting. As I told you, I'm going to click here, this sheet, change parameter for parent container, and I will show you the parameter action. In this case, I only changing the value of the parent container to the source field that is the contrary value. So, as I told you, if it is true, it is going to be false, and we're going to keep the value. Also, we have applied the typical remove highlight action. In this case, we have as a source sheet the button, the fake button, yeah. And what is interesting here is that we are selecting in the source sheet the dynamic zone visibility dashboard, but in the target sheet we are selecting the sheet. So taking into account that here we have the dashboards, and at the bottom we have the sheets. Also, we have we are running this action on select, show all values, and we have created two calculated fields. One is 1 and the other is 0. Basically, this is a 0 and this is a basically this is a 1 and this is a 0. So that way we are going to avoid clicking twice, yes, to remove the selection. And it's a very common action used to remove the highlight, because when you select a mark, to unselect it, you have to click again. Yeah. So that way we are going to avoid clicking twice like this. So it is very interesting that using dynamic zone visibility and parameter actions, we are going to be able to skip the container trap that I have already explained at the beginning of this use case. Okay. The next one was, this was very interesting because it was one of the first uses that I saw from dynamic zone visibility. I saw this case in LinkedIn. I don't remember who was the guy who built this, but I just wanted to reproduce it. Okay. It doesn't have to do a lot with dynamic zone visibility, but it is a use case that I recall because it could be, for example, like an option for Vising tooltip. Okay, so in this case, what we have created are two parameters, one for the subcategory that is selected, and one for the rank of the subcategory. So we have two parameters, and we have created two parameter actions. In this case, what we're doing is that on select, we are assigning the values to the selected subcategory and also the rank of the sheet of the subcategory that we have been selected. Okay. Also, in this case, for example, if I click on chairs, you are going to see that the rank parameters go to 6 and the selected subcategory goes to chairs. As you see, we have two sheets, one in the upper and one in the bottom. Yeah, in the upper part, basically, we have created a filter to filter the ranks that are lower or equal to the rank parameter. And in the bottom sheet, we have left the rank parameters that are above the 6. So in this case, 7, 8, 9, and everything's go up. Yeah. When we remove the selection, yeah, you will see that the parameters goes to none or to 0. In this case, we have created the Boolean trigger. Excuse me. With the selected subcategory different than none. Yeah, and that in that way, we're going to show, yeah, the detail below the mark that we have selected. Yeah. And as you see, that Boolean trigger, in this case, because this is the solution, and you will notice that I am using that Boolean trigger in the visibility, in the dynamic zone visibility of the container. And that's all. So this is very interesting because of the dynamic that it is adding to the dashboard. But it's not very complicated from the point of view of the dynamic zone visibility. Next, this is a very useful case that reminds me about a certification question. And that certification question I remember says, a group may see the sales, another group may see the profits, and a third group may see the sales and the profits. How can you do that? Okay, the answer is not related to dynamic zone visibility, but it is something that I would really like to do with dynamic zone visibility. Okay, you can also use dynamic zone visibility with user filters. Okay, in this case, for example, I have created a calculated field that is very simple. It is the username filter. And as you see, I'm using a user function, username, that equals admin. In this case, I am the admin. Yes. And I have used that Boolean trigger to this sheet that shows the KPIs. And as you see, it is assigned right here. Okay. What is very interesting about this is that you can change the user. In this case, for example, I'm going to change the user, for example, to Andres. And as you see, the information is hidden for Andres. So it is very interesting because you can show or hide some information according to the user functions, or if you have created also a user filter, you can use it. So it is wonderful use of how to show or hide certain information to certain type of people according to the user functions. So it is so awesome. I love this use case. The next one I'm going to show you has to do with sets. Okay. In this case, I have three sheets. I want to show this sheet when all the 4 regions in the set are shown. In this case, I want to show this sheet when 2 or 3 are shown, and this last one when only one sheet, when only one region is selected. Okay, so we have created 3 Boolean triggers. In this case, for example, for the all regions, take into account that we are using a fixed calculation. So we're counting the number of regions in the region set, and we're comparing against the number of all regions in the set, in the data set. Yeah. For the multiple regions, what we're trying to do is that the number of regions in the set must be greater than 1, but less than the total number of regions. Yeah. And finally, for the one region trigger, what we are trying to count is that the number of regions in the sets equals to 1. Okay. And this is really interesting, yeah, because what we can, excuse me, what we can do here is we'll try to do as fast as possible. This is our 9 example. This is the all regions. This is our multiple regions. And this is our one region. Okay, awesome. So in this case, if I select only one region and apply, you will see that the sheet will change, or if I select all the regions, you will notice that we are going to change to the first view. So it's a very interesting use because it's like to use filter to show or hide information, but but take into account that these are sets. Okay, wonderful. And the last one, this is something that probably you will expect the thank you, but as you see, it is not showing. I will refresh the data, and as you notice, this says obrigado, thank you. And what I'm doing here is that I'm using a time function, and this is also something that I have used, because you can show or hide sheets according to the to time functions. In my case, my professional case is that, for example, in a company, the first 3 days of the month, they want to see the results of the previous month. But starting from the 4th of the month, they want to see the current month. And this was something that I achieved using dynamic zone visibility and using time functions. So it was so awesome also, this use case with time functions. So we are going to close this, but you can use dynamic zone visibility with parameters. You can use dynamic zone visibility with calls involving parameters. You can use this dynamic zone visibility with calcs that involve fixed calculations. You can use dynamic visibility with user functions and also with time functions. So it's a lot of ways to use dynamic zone visibility. Also, here are the QR codes for my YouTube channel, for the James channel, and also the QR code for the Tableau Public workbook if you want to download it.
Okay, so Thank you so much, Jim and Diego, for such a great presentation and for covering all these use cases. I think it's mind blowing how you can use dynamic zone visibility in various use cases and actually improve the user flow for for your user particularly. And it's a great feature, and I've been in love with this feature. We have some of the questions which I would like you to answer. One of the question is related to, is there any way to do animations when swapping sheets using the triggers? Do you think it has anything to do with, we can couple it with animations as well?
I don't think so, because dynamics of visibility is show or hide. Yeah.
I
So
do. I agree with you. And of all the features that are available in Tableau, animation is my least likely to use. Just saying.
True. One of the questions which I think most of people will be having is, because let's say if there are multiple layers on top of a dashboard and we are using dynamic zone visibility to show and hide them, how much do you think it will be taxing in terms of performance? Because at the end, it all comes down to performance everywhere.
well, that is a wonderful question. Yeah. When you do a performance recording of dynamic zone visibility, you will notice that the performance recording will show that the queries are performed in the background, but not the rendering of each sheet. Yeah. So it means that when you open a dashboard that contains dynamic zone visibility, all the sheets will be queried, but not rendering at the moment. You can avoid the querying by also adding the Boolean trigger to each of the sheet. So that way you will avoid the querying. And that is probably the best option if you have a large data set. Yeah, if your data set is small, maybe you don't have to add the trigger to the filter shelf. That could be acceptable, but always try recording a dynamics on visibility, a performance recording, to know what is happening in the background according to the queries and to the rendering.
Just a question out of curiosity for me. On top of this, I want to know. Let's say there's data. So what you're saying, let's say if I put that Boolean filter on top of the sheet as well, and the data is blank, so that will also help me to not compute all the queries. Yeah.
Yeah,
If I
that's
make it
what I
blank,
mean.
if I make the sheet go null. Okay.
That's what I mean. Because if you add to the Boolean trigger to the filtered shelf,
Mhm.
the sheet will be blank. But when you change the value of the parameter of the or the Boolean trigger, the query will be executed and also the rendering of the visualization. Yeah. So if you have large data sets, probably you are going to introduce the Boolean trigger in the filter chart to get the sheet blank, or when the Boolean trigger is true, to show the information correctly.
Got it. Uh, Thank you so much, Diego. I think there are more questions as well, but we are running out of time. If you can please, Jim and Diego, if you can please help us out in the Q&A section to answer some of them, that will be really helpful.
Thank you, Prasad.
Thank you, guys. We enjoyed it.
Okay, so next we have kind of the content creator or Tableau influencers who have been who have taken over LinkedIn and have been just creating some marvelous content, be it let's say long form videos or written content. It's all out there. I've been consuming it for a while now, and I love them. So first we have the now we have the Dub data team, and we have Sarah Burnett. You can find her on X by the name Says B, if I'm pronouncing it right. And Sarah is a co-founder of Dub Data, where she helps organizations unlock value from data through clear, powerful visualization and strategic analytics. She is a dynamic data visualization expert, Tableau visionary, and a passionate advocate for data literacy. She has spoken at numerous Tableau user groups and conferences and inspired new and experienced users alike through thoughtful presentations. And beyond her, Sarah mentors emerging talent, contributes to community projects as well, and champions diversity in data. Whether she is building dashboards or leading workshops or sharing ideas online, she's driven by one goal, and that is to empower others to unlock the full potential of their data. And today, along with Sarah, we also have Fee, who is a co-founder of DevDub Data as well. And she helps organizations unlock value from data through clear, powerful visualizations. And she is a seasoned data analytics leader with over 20 years of experience driving enterprise transformation across global teams. Fee has led many initiatives. If you must have seen all those gamification things that people post at JLL. I remember when I saw it, it's so much engaging, and she's one of the minds who was behind that. And apart from that, she has also been at ComSec and Optus, where she used her leadership and Tableau expertise to equip frontline teams. And her passion lies in helping organizations shift from fragmented reporting to strategic, scalable insights. I would stop here because I think we are going to learn more about them from them itself. And there are so many things they are doing, and I'll hand over to them. They are going to talk about Wiz Globe Heatwave, transform Tableau from lukewarm to lit. So thank you so much, and welcome to the stage, Fee and Sarah.
Thank you for that very warm welcome. I'm just going to, share my screen.
I think you also got a bump there, Sarah, as a Tableau visionary.
I was like, what does someone know that I don't know?
Hello, everyone, and welcome today. We are so excited to connect with you, although it is 3 o'clock in the morning here in Australia and 5 o'clock for Sarah. So if we lose ourselves mid-speech, I would really love if you support us through the chat, because we might be a little loopy and I haven't had enough coffee yet.
Fee, you're always a little bit loopy. I'm not going to blame the time on that one.
I would say that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Here we go. Okay, so hands up if you've ever built a dashboard that works, does the job, but it feels a little lukewarm.
I've totally been there. But I want you to keep your hands up. Right, there's so many people around the world right now. Keep your hands up if you're thinking about that dashboard right now.
So what we did is we took a viz of the day from way back in 2015, which is around the time I got my hands on Tableau, which was perfectly fine for its time. But we asked, what if we rebuilt this for today?
Yeah, and as you can see, we have a bit of banter that goes back and forth between Sarah and I, and we wanted to reimagine it, not just with modern Tableau features like dynamic zone visibility, although, spoiler alert, there is some of that in there. We wanted to think about things from a different perspective and bring our design thinking knowledge to really ensure that people feel something when they see a dashboard.
Yeah, because we feel that stakeholders don't just want information anymore. They really want insight and they want a story.
That's right. So we're going to show you the approach that we use to look at our design decisions and understand how they can make a big impact.
And get ready to take your dashboards from lukewarm to absolutely lit. We tried to do that, didn't we? Yeah. We tried to make this. Okay. So here we started with Dan's original dashboard.
So this was a dashboard just like we have today, all the way back in 2015. There were visitor days all the way back then. And we went back through the back catalogue because it's always better, I think, to choose something where people haven't just got the shiny recognition recently. If something's been done a fair while ago, things have moved on a little bit. And so it's you know, an easy critique to come in. So what we're going to start out with today is what the original Viz looked like, where we've taken it, and then we'll look side by side. So if we take a look at this visualization, I think that we'd all agree that Dan's kind of nailed the fundamentals that we see today before they were mainstream.
Yeah, there's a lot of consistency in the dashboards, not too many fonts. I don't feel overwhelmed with color.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's heaps of white space in here. I mean, there's a few things where I can see the pixels are slightly out, and I'm trying to be better at not picking up on these little bits and pieces. Anyone who is on the call from JLL will know that I'm infamous for picking up when things are out of place. But first of all, I just want everyone that's on the call to take a quick look and pop into chat the things that stick out to them about the visualizations.
I'm just going to hover over while people are contributing as well, because one of the things I quite like is we've got a tooltip here, and it's in that sentence structure, which I think back in 2015 was quite ahead of its time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have bands, right? So right up the top, we've got bands. Okay, they may not be the big numbers, but they're certainly top left, which means that, you know, it's one of the first things that we're reading. Let's have a look at what some of the things that are coming out in the chat. So we've got some words in the title are cut off. Yep, that's for sure. The color scheme, there's two going on at the same time. So yeah, the blue, it feels like a bit of Tableau color scheme a little bit, as well as maybe the Forbes color scheme. What else have we got? The orange is a little jarring. That title bar's cut off. Oh, we've got a question.
Yeah.
Who's that? Who's the rich young person, Sarah?
Who's the rich young person?
A net worth, maybe the youngest there.
Ivan Spiegel, is it?
Evan. 24 years old. So the founder
Snapchat.
Snapchat. There you go. Who uses Snapchat? Viraj has asked, what's on the click me at the top, Sarah?
The click me. Okay, more of a hover, but a little bit more detail there. Do you know that's the first time I've seen that?
Maybe you need to check those glasses a little bit. I mean, I look at this and I'm never a fan of looking at something and it looks like it's got what's that font called? You know, like just more of a standard thing. We've got a bit of mixed fonts in there as well, with italics coming through. Times New Roman, that's the word that I was searching for. But oh no, bad font. Yeah. So there's some things that could definitely be improved, but there are some things that I really liked. I think, like you mentioned, the sentence structure. We've got clear bands. What about the filter situation? What's going on there, Sarah?
So if we come down to this filter.
Okay. So there's some filtering in there. What happens if you type in, I don't know, Evan? Type in Evan and see what happens.
Let's see. Yep, here we've got Evan. It looks like it's just impacting the bottom.
All right. So there could be some better UX behind that. What else?
I think there is some functionality when we click, but there's no actual key to tell us that.
Okay.
So if we click on mail here, what it does is it filters by mail.
That's a pretty interesting insight, though. 91% of billionaires are males, only 9% are females.
Yeah. Underrepresented.
Underrepresented for sure. What about this map? What's that map telling us?
It's telling us how many billionaires are in each country.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're not really getting a lot of information on that. And so until we hover, we don't really know what the size of the circle represents, do we? Whether it's the amount of wealth or the count there.
Yeah. While you're talking about that, it's like spot the difference, isn't it? Trying to understand the different font size. There's a bit of an inconsistency that's going on. So the initial look was, oh, it's not bad. The next look I'm having is, oh, there's some inconsistency in the font, in the actual font itself, but also the size of the font.
Right.
And I find that when that happens, it creates a sense of less trust in the data.
Something else here, and we know because we're familiar with the data, but there's actually no time attached to this. So we don't know when this list is. So
Right.
we know, because we've dug into the data, that this is reflective of 2014 data, but there's nowhere on the chart that tells us that is what's happening.
That's right. And like Anne mentions in the chat here, it's like a find your own adventure dashboard. It's definitely an exploratory dashboard rather than an explanatory dashboard. But I think, generally overall, like it's not too bad, but it has a bit of cognitive load going on for the end user. You have to work hard, which risks losing users.
Yeah, it really does. So we took it from this, bearing all this in mind, and we zhuzhed it up with our glow up.
Always wondered how you spell the word zhuzh.
Who knows? Who knows how I spell anything?
Okay. So again, folks in the chat, would love to have your feedback. Sarah's going to do a little bit of a scroll through or scroll up and down. Actually, Sarah, while you're there, why don't you just chuck this in the chat? Is that possible? Or do you want me to
the link? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
So a little bit different in this one. We made a decision to get a little bit more context coming through. So you can see that we've in the title there, we've chosen to have 10 years of billionaires, and we've given you the actual 10 years. So 2014 to 2024.
Yeah, so we really wanted to lean into the data that was available and see in those bands, you can see a trend, which we feel is really important when you're delivering information to give context. And included in those bands, you can see the uplift. So if you look at the billionaires in the last 10 years, it's almost doubled the amount of billionaires, which I think is a really interesting statistic there.
100%. And I'm a big fan of grounding the bands with a Gantt line. I think it draws really nice attention in there. We've got larger text coming in with the actual number of billionaires, but then that context measure, we've gone from 1,114 to 1,595 billionaires, which is a bit of an explosion. If you think about it, like that's a lot going on, and there's a big jump that's happening there.
Yeah, for sure. And we can see that big jump that happens in 2020 to 2021, and some interesting data showing through there. Also on the net worth. And we've spoken about that a little bit down here, where the average net worth of a billionaire in 2020 to 2021 actually increased by $1 billion.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Interesting. And it's, just a big reflection of the time that we were in, from 2020 to 2021 with COVID, and how a time that is challenging for so many people can create wealth for the extreme at the top of the table. And then interestingly, touching on the average age there. So we can see that the average age of billionaires is generally trending upwards. There's a bit of a blip again that's happening in 2021.
Yep. Yeah, so you've got that drop. It is actually, the age has remained quite consistent. So again, just the drop was 1 year, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And then pops up again to 66, which is, and maybe it's the aging population that we're seeing. But what I really like about the design here is it's keeping us focused in the top third. Quite quickly, I think one of the things from Dan's original viz, where he was showing that, and previously it was 9% versus 91% in the male to female ratio, having that story and grounding it in there becomes quite powerful.
Yeah, and I like the way we've leaned into the colors there. So we've put the male in gold because it's all about the money, and then we've put the female in one of our favorite highlight colors, which is purple, just to make that really stand out. And also, like Dan's, remain consistent in that coloring.
Absolutely. And you may question, well, why step away from Forbes colors in the greens? We felt that we wanted to continue with their standard black and white, but really bring that quiet luxury color of the gold or beige through with the highlight color of purple as well.
Yeah. And I know you're a favorite of the chart down the left-hand side, Fee.
I think that's more of your favorite. Why don't you go into it?
Well, we call it the coin drop. So it's a little bit Vegas style, we thought. Fun fact, Fee and I actually met in Vegas, TC 17.
Mm-hmm. Make it rain with your coins there.
Yeah, make it rain. So it's not actually an image. It is you can see here as the money drops down, who's at the top, kind of floating at the top there.
Yeah, and I would say, would I make these decisions necessarily in the business, in a business dashboard? Not necessarily at all, but we like to have a little bit of a flourish when we're having some fun on Tableau Public, and this is definitely one of those ways. Notice here on the hover that you've got a great tooltip. Again, there's some storytelling in there, similar to what Dan had before. But this time it's really clear to me with the different visual typography hierarchy that's coming through that I can quickly see that it's the Bernard Arnault family and family, which is obviously Louis Vuitton. Would be interesting to see where that's sitting now.
I think they're coming in at number 2. So I think they're coming in at number 2 last time I looked for 2025. We've got Elon Musk at the top this year.
And on your tooltip there, you've got a little indication where it's saying click to highlight. So do you want to just show us how that works?
Yeah. So you'll see here it will come in and highlight the heat map down the right-hand side, as well as our industry, our net worth by industry. So interesting to see here, Elon Musk is in the automotive industry. And actually we've ranked this list here by the total number. So you can see it's actually the finance investments have the most amount of billionaires, but the top numbers actually sit in fashion retail, in automotive, and then technology.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you've got a bit of a flourish that is a bit of a tilt to that of the hat to Jim and Diego. But do you want to show us the dynamic zone visibility that you've got on the chart?
Yeah, sure. So we actually kept one of Dan's original vizzes here as well. And we debated a little bit over how we did this because we've actually double encoded these. So you can see that we've not just done the net worth by the y-axis, but we've also done it by the size of the circle, which is not something that we typically do. It's just because when we got down to the bottom, and let me just unhighlight for a minute there. once we got to the bottom, it actually got a lot harder to see if everything was the same size. So sometimes, there are rules, but sometimes rules are there to be broken.
And Sarah loves to break them.
That's right. We also went and did the same kind of double encoding with the map. And I know, Faye, you quite like a little bit of insight here.
Do I? What insight? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so one of the things that I found really fascinating when I looked at a map, and I'm not always a big fan of maps, by the way. Like, I think that users and stakeholders love a map because they're like, wow, that's really impressive that we can chart on things. I find it really difficult to get the insights off it. But one thing I noticed was just how all the wealth was concentrated around the equator. And that was just really fascinating to me. Like when we look across that band, right across the middle there, there's much more wealth concentration going on than the likes of Africa or Australia.
New Zealand's just there. It's nice to see New Zealand's on the map.
Nice to see New Zealand on the map. We're both Kiwis. It's important to us. I'd love to just pop back up to the top, Sarah, and come down on that heat map on the right hand side. So one of the things that we did talk about in Dan's original was he was just looking at a snapshot in time. We really liked the ability to be able to see where the wealth was concentrated and by the individual. So you're seeing here that Bernard was actually number 3 in 2022 and not number 1. So you can see a little bit of that wealth concentration and see how it's grown over the years. It's not necessarily the cleanest way to be visualizing all of this information, but we wanted to have an infographic where everything's on the same page. Maybe, if you are really getting into the insights, you might have different dashboards, but for us, we decided to pop it in there and create these kind of borders around the coin drop and also the heat map on the right-hand side. And again, really interesting seeing the difference between men and women.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll also notice we've gone quite dark mode for this one.
Yeah. How often do you go dark mode?
At work, not very often, but
yeah, I haven't done a lot of visualizations that are dark, but I know that there's a lot of people we go through we go through different periods where people prefer dark mode or prefer darker visualizations. We've seen a lot of that happen on InVis.
Yeah, we have. And it's growing on me. It's growing on me. It's a point of difference. And I think it's, it's fun when you're building a biz like this, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things to note is that Sarah and I have a real passion for accessibility and making sure that, things are at least 10 point in fonts, that we have colors that are WCAG compliant as well. So use a lot of contrast checkers to make sure that it comes through. Really important to make sure that we're trying to make our visualizations available for people with older eyes or vision deficiencies as well.
Yeah, super, super important. Okay, anything else you want to talk about on that one, Faye, or should we move over to the side-by-side?
I reckon we head on to the side-by-side.
Yeah, sure. And if anyone wants to drop any comments, I think there's a few coming through around some of the feedback, Faye, if you wanted to have a look at some of that.
Anne says she's never used dark mode at work, but she loves it.
Nice.
And had built something in dark mode earlier this month, and it's probably one of the favorites. Okay. Oh, good. We've got it up side by side.
We have. So Dan's Viz answered a lot of questions. In 2015, I think it was a really great dashboard, but in 2025, I find we're a little bit more experimental. And the design bar, I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but even in the last kind of 3 years has just gone way up, and I think people are really leaning in to UX patterns, looking at typography. Accessibility is non-negotiable now, and it's really good that you don't have to reinvent everything. We have, if you look at them kind of side by side, there's a few things that we've continued to leverage. Some of the things Dan did, he didn't put overcomplicated charts in. Everyone knows how to read a bar chart. And we've typically stuck with a lot of his designs. We've just zhuzhed it up a little bit more. And I feel that sometimes, if you think, if you look at something from that you've got out there that you think is a little bit broken or needs a bit of a zhuzh up, I encourage you guys to do that as well.
I think we really took what Dan did brilliantly and asked ourselves, how do we make those hidden stories visible?
Yeah, and I think let the dashboard stand on its own as well. We like to think that everything that we've included there, that anyone looking at this with a fresh set of eyes will know. They'll know what period they're looking at. They'll understand the kind of the context that we're trying to get across.
Yeah, and using things like color, like the gold and the purple, it makes the gender disparity impossible to ignore.
Yeah. And I really like the spark lines as well. It really helps us to ground the story and tell us, what's happened. So what, that billionaires stat call out for me is huge. That, almost doubled the amount of billionaires. And then that average net worth as well, with that shaky bit in the 2020, but trajectory going up.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, I know you love your coin drop and bit of Vegas. Maybe we're missing TC too much.
Maybe we are. Next year, Fee, next year.
Next year. But let's make sure that we make our visualizations human, accessible, and really easy to tell the story.
Yeah, for sure. I think, accessibility is really key. I saw some questions, I think, earlier on with the previous presentation, and we actually attended a really great workshop, which I think is up online, isn't it, Fee? Couple of weeks ago around accessibility and the things that Tableau are doing and really listening to is amazing.
The other thing that I think that just to encourage people to do, we also have some data cards. So I'll just kind of show that. You might be able to see it or not. So these data cards say things like which areas or groups or teams have performed above expected. So if we look at this particular visualization, we'd say, well, obviously the guys are taking it out. What trends do you notice in the data? Well, people are getting a little bit older and they're getting richer in the billionaire space. And what surprises you about the data? What would you say surprised you the most about this data?
For me, I think it's just how far out the top runners are. So if you look at that kind of top 5 to 10 people are really a majority of that wealth.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's up for us. Here's our challenge for everyone on the call. Think about a viz that you've built that works but feels a bit lukewarm. You probably know the one in the back of your head. Maybe you can apply some of the principles that we've talked about today to take it from functional to phenomenal.
We're not just about building dashboards anymore. We're crafting experiences. And everything we discussed today and is in more detail in our linked blog. And if you want to geek out about this stuff, I need to change pages. There we go. If you want to geek out about this stuff, hit us up on LinkedIn and check out our podcast, Undubbed, if you haven't heard about it before. We're about to drop number 21, I think.
Yeah. 20, 21. Yeah, maybe. I mean, our podcast is still under a year old, and it's one of my goals to get our subscribers up over 100. And I know there's a few people on the call today, so I would really appreciate if you're scanning any of those QR codes that you actually scan the one for our YouTube channel so that we can make that 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And also like and subscribe. The best way for people to know about it is to share it. So send it through to other people. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you think that we could do better, and tell us who you might want us to have on the podcast as well, because we're always up for a good riff. So thank you so much for letting us share our glow up journey with you. We would love if you go make something lit right now.
and share it with us for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. And we're open for questions.
Thank you so much, Sarah and Fee, for such a great presentation and from getting from lukewarm to lit. And transformation, I think everybody loved it. I can see that in comments. People were just rushing over and absolutely about accessibility and how you can use the colors and the layout to actually apply it to your visualization. Kind of changes the way how user perceives the visualization and makes a lot of difference. So thank you so much for all these tips. And guys, if you're going to take these tips and apply on your visualization, please do tag Fee and Sarah for that. They'll be happy to see what you have done with your dashboard.
For sure.
Okay,
And any unsolicited feedback we're open to as well.
So you know who to reach out if you have anything to ask for. Okay, so I'll just go over. Sarah and Fee, if you can please look over into the Q&A section. If you can answer, we have some of the questions there. If you can help us out, that will be great.
Absolutely. Happy to. Thanks, Prasan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are moving over to the final chapter for today. And we have someone from Canada. I just got to know in the comments, I think if I read it right, you and Chimdi both are in Canada, but you are somewhere like 5,000 kilometers apart. That's okay, that's insane. So here we have Kirk Munroe. You can search his name on X as well, and you can follow him. Please follow him there. He's a seasoned business analytics and performance management expert based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And he's the co-owner and principal consultant at Paint with Data. It's a visual analytics consulting firm that helps organizations unlock insights and drive smarter decisions. And he has been in leadership roles in product management, marketing, sales. I would say a great plethora of experience, and he has worked with Cognos, IBM, Kinaxis, Tableau, and Salesforce, and he brings both strategic vision and deep technical expertise to every engagement. He's also the author of Data Modeling with Tableau. That's a great book if you want to deep dive into data modeling, if you want to see how everything works. I have gone through that book, and I can definitely say that it's a great book if you are interested in going deep with data modeling. And he is passionate about empowering through coaching, mentoring, and technical enablement. And today he's going to talk about something that has been in the air. People sometimes don't understand it, or the word is somehow everyone doesn't get it. About Tableau Semantics. So today he's going to share his knowledge on Tableau Semantics, and I'll hand it over to Kirk now. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Kirk.
Thanks, Prasan, and thanks everyone who presented ahead. Today, I'm definitely going to talk. We only have 25 minutes left, so I will say watch out all of other videos on this topic because it's a very new topic coming up. So there will be more, and I do have one video on my channel too. I should have had that linked on up. Just for fun to start, it's actually we're 5,819 kilometers apart. So what's that, about 4,000 miles? And it would take 56 hours to drive. And we're in the same country, and you can still get east to me. So Canada's big for people who don't know. Just kind of a quick, I don't have very many slides, and then I'll jump into demo for sure. But for fun, because we do this with everything these days, I asked ChatGPT for a definition of Tableau Semantics, right? And I should say the reason why I'm not a data, my background's not data engineering, it's definitely analytics, but we have this philosophy where we want people to be able to get from the highest level what might be going on or off in their business down to kind of the offending record row level data in 10 seconds or 3 clicks or less. So you certainly have to be good at understanding pre-attentive attributes and visual best practices, of course. But if you don't know how to model data, you're never going to get that to perform or get that much data loaded. So I think this is really important, right? And then specifically, the data modeling capability in Tableau Next, which just GA'd as a full product in June, so just last month, has something called Tableau Semantics, and it's confusing people. But I asked ChatGPT what a semantic layer was. I'm just curious what it would come up with, right? And this is the exact answer, right? So semantic layer is a bridge between raw data and business users. So it has business-friendly terms in it. So instead of total rev amount, which is probably something in the database, it should say revenue. It should centralize logic and calculations so KPIs are consistent across dashboards. I would say across dashboard, AI agents, and metrics, which we'll get into. Maps technical data to business meaning, enables self-service analytics without exposing users to complex SQLs or joins. We had a presentation here I did with Thomas Nan, who's a product manager at Tableau, called Let Tableau Write Your SQL For You. And I actually have a blog post on that on the Tableau site, if you want. And then it also provides security and governance. I think it nailed the definition. And I just want to say that this is what I often see, though. And I think it's a good, for everyone to question this, if you're building Tableau dashboards yourself, or even if you used another product, that Tableau Classic, if you will, the Tableau that everyone knows before Tableau Next, had all these features. You can rename fields easily, but I still normally see total rev amount, which, people not renaming them. Calculations, you can store in the published data source, but usually I see them in the workbook, which means they're not shared across data sources, how the different explorers. AI can't find them. It's not available for Tableau Pulse as an example. Right, you can map technical data to business meaning. So in desktop, that's default properties comment, and put a comment in on what the field's used for. The AI will also pick that up. That's been in the product forever, but I rarely see it used. And then the only thing you're going to get for self-service enablement is relationship-based models and not joins, right? That's the only way you're going to get from, 10 seconds, 3 clicks, right, all the way down. So I do see people use row-level security and stuff pretty well, because people aren't going to mess with that kind of stuff. So I just want to point this out from a, Tableau Next, I think, has caused a lot of anxiety, because the way, in part, it's been positioned as the next Tableau, which I don't think is a fair way to look at it at all. What Tableau Next is Tableau Next is Tableau as we know it, more or less rebuilt from scratch on the Salesforce platform. And it's not exactly like Tableau, because they had the advantage of all the learnings over the years and the baggage in the product, but also because it's agentic AI first, which we'll look at today, even in the time we have. So if you build a model like this, and I would say if people haven't watched it, Tableau Tim and I have a video that goes super deep and completely for free on YouTube on how to build semantic models. Or data models. Are almost interchangeable, to use those two terms, in Tableau. There's a video on it. So as long as you have those business-friendly names, comments, common calcs, and stuff, and you don't embed this in the workbook, but instead publish it as a published data source, this is a semantic model. So if you've been doing this in Tableau, you've been building semantic models. If you do this and join your data together, it's not a semantic model. It's a great big flat table that doesn't allow people to answer all questions. It gets your data source is super big, and you can't, and you have to end up using really complex calculations. These models will make a lot less LODs, count distincts, etc. So this is my last slide. I'll jump into demo. So why is this important, and what does that have to do with Tableau Semantics? First off, if I looked at the second one here, the point is that you might have already been building these in Tableau, so there's nothing to be scared about if you're going to end up in Tableau Next. But the third point here, which I like, is these things are very unlikely to be owned by data engineering teams. And I think, and Sarah had a post on this, on her take of, in an AI era, what the job of an analyst is going to be, which is great on LinkedIn. I think it was just in the past couple of days. With the LinkedIn algorithm, I never know anymore. But I think the reason, and this will come out today, even in a short demo, that I think this is a massive career opportunities for analysts because AI is not yet, and I don't think predictably, building good data models on its own. If you can build a really good data model for an organization, then, and they know that dashboards and agents and everything's going to give the same answer to the same question, like that's going to make you gold in the company. And because it's so important, that's what people are afraid of with AI, of course, and rightly so. Right. And I will say the one good thing, no, there's more than one good thing. They have a lot of advantages. The Tableau Next semantic model kind of forces you in a very good way to build semantic models as a foundation for everything. So in Tableau Classic, you can embed, as an example, your data sources inside a workbook. You can't do that. Like you have to do the equivalent of published data sources, which are these Tableau semantic models. And they're also very AI first. So let's jump into demo because that's what everybody wants, of course. So first, just to show that it's very similar, if we went on Tableau Cloud, Tim and I built ours in desktop, but if you went publish data source, it's a semantic model, right? And if I said, we use bookstore data, so if I said, I'll make this one simple for now, but let's say we wanted to know sales, right? Again, I would do a union on this to bring the other ones in, but just for simplicity, let's say that then what I wanted to do is I know that books sold by edition, so I'm going to bring edition in. And if I double click edition, Tableau is going to create a relationship for me there. And I could keep going. But this is, and I recommend you go watch that video. We build this out and how it makes sense, right? The next thing you might want is books. And then what Tableau does is there's no joins being done here. But joins get done at runtime. And what we would certainly do with this kind of data model, because they're flat files, and normally you connect to a database, is we would do this into Hyper, and then each of these would be a table, and then we could publish this as a data source. First, we would rename fields, give them business context, create calculations here. So it's kind of the same in Tableau Next. So the difference is this is Tableau Cloud, right? So I could publish this. So I'm going to publish this. It shouldn't take very long to build that extract. I would publish this data source, and then it would be available for other people to create workbooks off of. And you need published data sources if you want to use Tableau Pulse. So if no one's used Tableau Pulse before, this is the cornerstone. And Tableau, had they so chosen in the past, they could have called this the Tableau semantic model, because that's what it is. So I just wanted to show this to show that there's certainly some similarities. And if you are going to end up in the Tableau Next world, not to be concerned about it. We can go back to that. What I did want to show here, though, is this is a Salesforce platform. So for people who haven't worked on Salesforce before, it's a platform. And I have a blog post coming up on the Florless Twins blog post soon on comparing the differences between these and how it came about. But for now, again, it was Tableau rebuilt on the Salesforce platform. So this would be the same place. We could do things like launch Sales Cloud and Service Cloud and all the other, probably don't have Service, yeah, and Service Cloud and all these other applications. And Tableau is effectively just another application. The only other thing I would say that's important is these models, the semantic models, are all built on data that exists in Data Cloud. So Data Cloud is a data lakehouse. I'll go right up about that too. But you could think it's like Databricks, except it's a highly specialized one for Salesforce, but you can bring lots of other data in. The key is all your data has to first either be in Data Cloud, or they have something in they have something called zero copy, which lets you point to data in Snowflake or Databricks or Google BigQuery or loads and loads of other sources. It's worth kind of looking into this if you do it. I'm also Data Cloud certified, so we could do a whole session on that. But basically, I already have created little data streams, which I'll show you how to bring our data in. And then it's got two things in it. It's got either data lake objects, which are just tables, really is the simple way to think about it. And they also have a data model where you can kind of pre-model your data before you bring it to the semantic layer. But the key for today is just think of data lake objects as tables that you can bring in from any different source, much like you would to Hyper. And then you can create a semantic layer from Data Cloud, but that's not where we're going to do it. So we're going to come here and launch Tableau Next. So again, Tableau Next, 100% built on the Salesforce platform. And we'll take a look at what it looks like. So this is Tableau Next. If you want a Tableau Next org to play with, Salesforce calls them orgs, right? If you want an org to play with, if you do a search for the Tableau Next hackathon, right now there's a hackathon competition going on till kind of middle of September. If you sign up for it, they'll give you a free org through the end of it. So at least you can kind of monkey around to get an idea of what it's like. So for simplicity, for people who are used to Tableau Cloud, one of the things right off the bat we're going to look at is a workspace. So a workspace is a lot like a Tableau project. You could think about them almost one for one. So I'm going to say analytics, TUG, workspace. What's really important I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to right away break my own rule, but it's important to give things descriptions, which you probably don't today. I mean, or maybe you do, I'm terrible at it. But the reason it's important to say this is a place to find whatever we want is because this platform is so AI first that it's important to find things. And we'll get into that and why I think this, as you'll see, is so important to be where the skills of being a data modeler, or semantic model creator, if you will, are going to be so important because it's kind of scary how good the AI's gotten. So the first thing you'll do is they basically make you create a semantic model when you create a new workspace, because that's the center of everything. That's where you build metrics, calculations, the AI works. It's where you build up the Viz experience like Tableau. So I can connect to data. If I were to do that, I could upload a file just like I did. So I could upload the series from books just like that. The difference is in Tableau Cloud, you model it first and then you upload it to Hyper if you're going to do an extract. In this case, if you're using a flat file, you upload it to Data Cloud, then you can use it in the semantic model. They just flip that order around is all. And then just like in Tableau, it'll show you what it is, right? And I can just save that table and now it's going to be available to us. I just wanted to show you, I copied all the other ones in already. You'll see they go into a data lake object, or because tech companies love acronyms, you'll hear them called DLOs. But again, just think about them as tables. That's what they are. So it's a table that came from a CSV in this case. So one thing we can do is, and we will see here that I'm going to create a semantic model next. So I could actually create a viz on it right away, but it wouldn't be that great. So I'm going to create a semantic model. I could there's nowhere else I can put this because basically I only have one data space. You could think about data spaces a lot like different Tableau Cloud sites or Tableau server sites, but I'm going to go and create this. You'll see now we get a canvas much like the canvas in we get to build a published data source. But what I can do is I want to add other tables to this. And we saw some of the ones already, right? You'll see the data model objects are typically, what's great about this, of course, if you're a Salesforce customer, is they've already modeled, or partly modeled all your, tables or what they would call objects in Salesforce. So you can start working with them right away. That's a stronger use case. But what we have here is I'm going to come here and grab the ones that I want. So they're the same kind of ones. What's kind of nice compared to Tableau today, I'm just going to take 1/4 sales to be simple price, is what's kind of nice about it is I can pick multiples at once and they'll throw them onto the canvas for me. So I don't have to, you can't do this in Tableau Cloud or desktop. Like it makes you make the connection, the relationships before you do this, right? Oh, I definitely need addition or this isn't going to work. So data lake objects, I'm going to look for addition. I need this for sure. Okay. So I need these tables, which came from flat files again, to make this work. So let's give it a second. One thing you'll notice is if I might have to create one first. So yeah, there you go. Show suggestions. So this is AI trying to tell you how to build a model. And again, I've had this hypothesis for the last 2 years that this is going to be the hardest thing as a business data analyst to get right for AI. And so far, it's proving me right. So that's trying to create relationships between these tables automatically for me. We'll take a look. So the first one we would do, if I did it very quickly up here, right, is I'm just going to test to publish it. But up here, you'll remember maybe that what I did was I very quickly created 1 quarter of sales to addition to book, right? So if I come back here, it tried to do sales to addition, right? So if I click on this line a lot like Tableau and look at that recommendation, I'm going to review it. Again, the UI is a little different, but it's the same idea, except it botched this. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure it'll get better in time, right? Oh, that's not the actual relationship I wanted, but it did botch that one too. So I want sales to addition. Is that addition sales Q1? Let's review it. It got it wrong. Do you know what I mean? Not a big deal though. I know it is. I think it's is been to is been. Then it got it right. So that's what we actually want, right? And what we could do now is I can apply that, and it builds a relationship for me. And then I can go through these. Right, again, it's wrong. I'm going to review this, and this is actually what we want over here is pub ID, and we want pub ID over here. You think it would get it right when they're called the same thing. And again, I'm going to apply that, and then we're going to go book, and again, it's wrong. I'm going to come in here and adjust it, and it's book ID to book ID, right, is what we want. And I'm going to apply that. And then books have authors, so at least it knew that, right? And then I'm going to review that, and I'm going to go, it's book ID, isn't it? It is author ID to author ID. And I'm going to apply that. And then the last, I'm just going to remove that. We don't need series. Again, so what we have is, that's the start of a data model. Some of the things that are nice, if you noticed in Tableau Classic, that's over here, right? And then, if you want to think about it the same way, additions there, and then additions have books, and books have publishers, and books also have authors. You can move them however you want, which I kind of like. If you're into doing, if we built a multi-fact one of these, you could actually do it like a star schema for anyone who knows data. I could put this in the middle, and I could hang these kind of off it, because books has publishers and authors, and then editions are over here. So anyway, that's kind of neat. Another thing about this though is that, which is nice, in Tableau you'd have to go to a sheet to test it out. Here we test a model, right? And what I could do is, a lot of people, I see all the time wanting to go back and test the SQL, right? If I wanted to know, say, which author by first name, how many, what was the discount by author? It's kind of silly, but it'll actually run it here, right, to tell me which authors had which discounts on their books. And it's almost more like a query analyzer kind of environment for people who are used to databases. And I can even copy that SQL query, which Tableau won't let you do. So last thing I want to show you is just to show, because we didn't have a lot of time today. Again, I'll do a longer video on this. Maybe Tim and I'll do another 90, like long form one on it. We're still trying to decide. But a couple things I want to show you. If you did want to do a join, like you would do in Tableau, and then bring that table in, or a union, you can do that in a logical view, which is kind of confusing because it conflicts with the other term. But in a logical view, if we have, I could show you, you can actually create a join. It effectively creates a dynamic table, which is why they call it a logical view. And then you can take it in and form relationships to other objects. So that's the way you do that. So you still can do joins. But one of the things I want to show you, a couple of things of how AI first this is, and then we'll wrap this up, is the first is it says add business preferences. So on top of your model, this is where you would say, right, if someone asks for ROI, they mean return on investment, right? If that's the name of your field. You'll see they give you some examples over here. Like, it's to help the AI. So imagine the value you have to be able to do something like that by doing that. Another thing about AI first, remember what I asked ChatGPT, it talks about, accurate field names, clear descriptions, validate your business preferences. In the near future, it's my understanding that if you don't tick these off to say you did it, and again, it doesn't know you did it unless you do it, what happens is the concierge agent that allows people to ask questions of their data won't run, because that's how important it is for you as the kind of data steward or semantic model creator, or whatever you want to call it, to turn that on. The last thing to show how good AI is getting is you can create metrics from here. Metrics are like Pulse. What's nice is Pulse only uses published data sources in the Tableau world. Here you actually create the equivalent to Pulse from the data source, which I think is great. It's more intuitive. But watch how good this is getting at doing calculated fields. Imagine if we wanted to know the date that an author first wrote a book, right? So can you create a calculation to give me, and now anyone would know this should be fixed by author ID, minimum of their first date in the sales table, right? Can you create a calculation to give me the first date that each author sold their first book, right? And then draft with Einstein and boom, by author ID, give me the minimum sales date. Like, I just think it's taking away, wow, I'm awesome at writing LODs. That's not the important part anymore, because it's going to do that stuff for you. It's like, what's the right business questions that people need to have answered, so you can feed those to the AI so it can give you these ones, right? So this is a date. We can give this thing a description, but again, it will automatically come up with a description. And the very last thing I wanted to show is, and then again, watch for videos because I know we're out of time, is it's even smart at stuff like this. I tried this last night for the first time. It's like, can you create me a field with author first and last name? Not a hard calculation, right? But if you do this, it gets it even right, or it did last night. We'll see if it does today. First name plus the little space, right? Which you would want. But I could say last name first. And I was curious. It was smart enough, at least last night, to put the comma in there. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to write calcs for you, right? Again, now this one, you might be like, that's a terrible description. This is the author's name, last then first, whatever. But the point is that there's your calculation. So I know I'm out of time, but I just wanted to show you that it's new and exciting, but it's not completely different. It's just like basically a modern version of what creating a published data source is in Tableau today. So again, thanks for the time, and I'll definitely have some more videos on that. I have one on my channel already, but we'll definitely have lots more or whatever. So thanks, Annabelle. I'll hand it back to.
Thank you very much. That was very clear, Kurt, and I will make sure to promote all your other video. I think that you will have to come back for like a longer session.
Happy to come back, and we could build a more business-centric one. And
Absolutely.
It would be fun as a workshop to have people ask questions of what they would want of the data, show how it creates calculations. And then the other big difference at Concierge, which we didn't even get to today, is like Tableau Agent, if anyone's seen demos, it helps you create vizzes. Tableau, the Concierge, if you build the data model right, will build you the viz and give you the answer. So I can see we're in a world where some people aren't even going to need dashboards, but they're going to need really good data models, or they're not going to get the same answers that they're going to get from a dashboard. So
Thank you. I will
Okay.
let Indy and Prasam close the session. Anyone who wants like already to leave, please do so.
Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Kurt. And thank you so much for a workshop. I think it was a mini
Yeah,
workshop right there. And
Yeah.
I think Fee has a question for you. How did you go about learning and certifying for Data Cloud? Because it has been a struggle street, not just for her, I think for most of the people. So how did you went on learning? Like, did you just went on and started doing things, or like, how did
So,
you do?
well, first I did a lot on Trailhead to start, and then I did have an advantage that we're a Salesforce partner now as a Tableau partner. So they rolled that out to Tableau partners first. So I guess I've had it since last October or something. I wouldn't call myself an expert on Data Cloud only because I haven't had a chance to play with it enough. But yeah, I think that certification's available for everyone now. I can get back to you on that. But at the time I took it, they rolled it to partners first for sure.
It is, Kirk. So I'm up to my eyeballs in it on Trailhead, but I'm finding that the trails aren't consistent, so they don't deliver the information and then do the review. It's a bit bitsy and a little confusing as well. So they might teach something and then do a review, but the review doesn't relate to any of the content that was in the teaching.
Yeah. The challenge I find with Trailhead in general, the great thing, it's free and it's super accessible. Like, we've done the Agent Blazer ones too. Well, the new one just came out this week, but you end up going through it and not really learning it sometimes because you're like, follow the step, follow the step, follow the step. It's not as good as, I want to be able to create my own, to actually do something. So that's why I'd be happy to do like if you want to do an off schedule one, we could do like a 2-hour workshop and people could like fire questions and we could build it on the fly or whatever. Like, so the tech is really good. Sorry, it's really raw too. It can't build visits like Tableau can today, and maybe it never should. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of forcing getting the right answers, like, I just think it does. Like, if you're naturally curious about data, it's like awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like, but if all your like I said, if all your thing is I can write Tableau calculations like no one else, like, I'm sorry, but like, those days are going. Do you know what I mean? Like, the AI is so good at doing that stuff now. It's scary.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
again, you saw it's not good at all at knowing. Like, picture all the terminology and things in companies. How could it possibly know? It's in people's heads, right? So if you can feed that to the AI, put it in the model, that's where I think the value in people is going to be in this world. So.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Kirk. Over to Chimdi.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Lots of great learnings today. So thanks for those who have hung out with us so far. Be sure to join us next month and be on the lookout for all the links and resources today to help you kind of get up to speed with what part of what was shown today. So thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Please
much.
register today so I don't have to send you email. Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.